welcome. You are watching Cover Story. As a big story this week, we shall be looking at Ram Jethmalani's expulsion from the BJP. Actually, we shall be looking at the larger message behind the expulsion, the timing of the expulsion, because all this throws a very interesting light on the power play within the BJP. But first, the interview of the week, where I met up with one of UPA2's most young and dynamic ministers, the Minister for Corporate Affairs, Sachin Pilot. I use the words young and dynamic, knowing fully well that Sachin doesn't like to be called young anymore. But again, I am equally sure that he would have no objections to being called dynamic.
मैं सचिन पायलट ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं।
Today's cover story stars Sachin Pilot, one of the poster boys of UPA government.
Sachin Pilot! Zindabad! Sachin Pilot! Zindabad!
But first, a bit about the 36-year-old minister. The Minister of State for Corporate Affairs is a familiar face, both in parliamentary debates and as a youth icon. During the last cabinet reshuffle, he was upgraded from being a first-time Minister of State to one with independent charge. A two-term MP, Sachin has an impeccable political lineage. His father was the late Rajesh Pilot, a popular Congress leader. Politics was not Sachin's first choice, but he certainly has inherited both his father's singular charm and his mass appeal. Two years ago, Sachin married the lovely Sara Abdullah, the daughter of former J&K Chief Minister Farooq Abdullah. Sachin is also a key player in Team Rahul and poised to play a crucial role in tomorrow's Congress. I would say that Sachin's USP lies in the simple fact that his mass appeal is not just limited to Rajasthan. He is often found campaigning for the party in faraway northeast and down south. In fact, when we caught up with Sachin, he had just returned from campaigning for a bypoll in Bihar. But now I think we should let Sachin speak for himself. Hello and welcome to NewsX. Sachin, you've been a minister for 4 years, in MP for 9 years. There is this inevitable comparison, between UPA 1 and UPA 2. People are saying that UPA 2 hasn't lived up to the promise of UPA 1. Would you agree?
I think it's open to judgment, but don't forget UPA 2 also I think has had the opportunity to enact many path-breaking legislation.
Such as?
There have been many policy initiatives I think UPA 2 has taken, which I think people are perhaps not so well aware of. It's perhaps very intuitive to compare UPA 1, UPA 2, and yes, the economy unfortunately has not performed as well as we'd like it to. And UPA 1 I think had tremendous growth in the 5 years of our government. Because of global slowdown, because of many external and internal circumstances, the economic growth, the kind of momentum we had expected to have wasn't there. And then, people start doing all sorts of analysis and comparisons because of that, lower GDP growth.
One reason for the comparison was, you have the economist as a Prime Minister. Manmohan Singh was not known for his political skills, but we were hoping that, he would take the economy on the right track.
Well, he's still a good economist, but you see, you can't control the global environment, you can't control global trade. Eurozone is still in crisis. North American recovery is very tentative. The Indian economy itself, I think, has slowed down compared to UPA 1 years. So, it's natural for people to start commenting and having their view. But I'm of the opinion that UPA 2 has been a government where, many more people have been given opportunities to perform and be a part of the government.
But what are the trophy schemes that you've just come back from campaigning in Bihar? What did you tell them? Why would they vote for you? What are the trophy schemes that UPA 2 has come up with?
See, it's not about just making public announcements and then hoping people will start clapping and cheering for your announcements. It's actually the enactment of the legislation. Once you pass a law, Narega, for example, was passed. People thought, it will not be an effective program. But to my mind, it's made a huge difference. It's a sense of security. People do feel, they have something that they can rely on. Now we have worked to get the food security bill put in Parliament.
Not very successfully.
Well, that's because the opposition has not allowed the Parliament to function. My own company's bill is stuck in Rajya Sabha because the House did not function. The land acquisition bill, that is now still stuck in Parliament. So you can't pass bills, with brute force. You need to have a debate and discussion for a healthy democratic parliamentary process to take shape.
But
So
why
this
did
is
you
not
do
a
that?
healthy
Because
tradition.
of the resignations of 2 ministers. Wouldn't have been, you have
You
saved a lot of time.
you
if you
can't
made
say,
them
you
resign.
cannot say, no, you cannot say that the Indian parliament shall not function because my X, Y and Z demands are not met. I want A, B, C things to happen, and until that happens, the Parliament of India will not function.
But even Congress does it. Everybody does this. To
Well,
make
you
a point.
oppose because you think you are in a position and you have a a viewpoint. So you can oppose the policy, you can oppose the government's actions, but you can't stall and take Parliament to hostage. And you can do it once or twice, but you can't have entire sessions being washed out. What sort of example are we setting for people in the next generation who are looking at politicians and politics as an option perhaps?
As an MP, did you ever storm the house? As a minister, you can't. But in the MP, did you storm the well of the house?
I don't remember doing that. Perhaps I'm not as good at stalling proceedings as you would want me to. But no, I have never done that. No.
And but recently there's been some criticism from Aruna Roy, who was a member of the NAC. She's was part of the system, so to speak. But now even she's resigned from the NAC, saying that this government is sacrificing growth. Sacrificing growth at the cost of poor.
See, every economist, every journalist, every editor will have a view, as will every Indian, and it's right for them to feel and critique the government as they feel like. But let me tell you, the NAC itself is not a part of the government. It is an advisory council which recommends certain issues.
So the government doesn't say no to the NAC. You haven't,
I don't think
whether
that's true.
Narega
No,
or
I think it's
four
not about
farmers
saying yes
going
or no.
waiver.
It's like any other think tank, any other institute which
This
wants
think tank
to
is headed by a UPA
Yes,
chairperson.
that is why I think that is why there is a correlation between the government, the party, the NAC. There is a lot of back and forth about many policy initiatives. The pros and cons are weighed, discussed, deliberated, and that's why outside experts, sometimes people say, well, the government of the day feels it is the repository of all wisdom. The ministers and the government knows everything. So we said, no, let few people like Sam Petroda, Nandan Delinkani, who have now become a part of the system as non-political people. You have people who are good in social science, in sociology, who are working as NGOs. They are part of NACs. So NAC will give a policy recommendation, but it is ultimately the government of the day which enacts the policy, makes a bill and passes the law. So NAC advises, but if somebody does not want to be a part of it, I really don't have much to comment on that.
Well, when NAC advises some changes in the food, they advise in the food security bill, which Sharad Pawar didn't really agree on. Then KV Thomas was given charge. So basically, at the end of the day, NAC's way is the way.
No, I think you're deducting some sort of sequence of events which perhaps may not be completely true. It's true that within the government also, and I also feel sometimes that if one minister in the government has a certain viewpoint, and another minister has another viewpoint, what is wrong in that?
Okay, talking about differences within government, we just had this brutal attack in Chhattisgarh. There was a difference of opinion how to handle Naxalism. There was Jairam Ramesh and Digvijay Singh adopting a soft approach. When Chidambaram as the Home Minister wanted to take a hard line. Do you think this difference of opinion has caused
No, I think you're trying to construe things when things are not the way that you're saying it. People can have view on a certain movement, what you call it, Maoist or Naxalism or whatever it is. But nobody can say that in this country we can allow anyone, an individual or an outfit, to get away with broad daylight murder. Anybody who creates terror is a terrorist. Whether it's the party or the government, all the people that you've named or anybody else, we all think that there must be options available to negotiate and to talk with people who shun violence, who give up arms and want to discuss on anything under the sun. The government, I think, is never inflexible as to not talk to anybody, but you can't talk at gunpoint.
What would make of the blame game that has fallen out now between the Congress and the BJP?
Again, I think it's unfortunate that we're sitting here and debating, and I've heard many of these stories about the convoy was too long, the route was so and so, so many people were told or not
at the
told.
last minute.
There is an inquiry commission or a committee that is investigating. The reports and the facts will come out. What is more important is that for every life lost, someone must be accountable. And if there were lapses, if there was casualness or there was oversight, even those people, institutions must be made accountable. But ultimately, law and order is a state subject, and I think we have to rise above this BJP, Congress, Janata Dal, CPM. Who's finger pointing? Who's to blame? People were killed that day, and they were killed with military precision. It is a pre-planned affair. Hundreds of people came with arms. automatic weapons, and they attacked in broad daylight a convoy of 100 odd people. This sort of attempt and attack, I think, is unacceptable, and whether it's state or center, we have to work together. We must make sure that this challenge to our democratic values, our freedom of expression, our way of life as a democratic country is not challenged. And this act also must not go unpunished. And I hope that the state government will act very swiftly and not do this blame game anymore. I think people in India don't want to see it.
Blame game is being played on both sides. Even the Congress leaders have been accusing.
But unfortunately, every single person who was killed there was a congressman, and there was the top leadership of our party. So we obviously feel hurt and very saddened by the fact that this was done as an attack on the political party, on our leaders, and these people were killed, and not just killed, they were killed brutally. They have no regard for human life. So therefore, whoever has done this, these people must be brought to justice, and brought to justice swiftly.
Okay, talking about accountability, you mentioned accountability earlier. I'm going to move on to the BCCI. What is your view on the BCCI?
I'm not a part of the BCCI. I think in this country everybody has an opinion on cricket, and all of you certainly have an opinion on what should happen or not happen in the board and so on and so forth. So I'm not a part of the Board of Cricket Control of India.
But as an Indian,
Well, as an Indian, cricket is certainly the most loved sport. And to my mind, whatever needs to be done to clean the sport, to get its credibility back, to restore the faith and the trust of the people of India in this wonderful game must be done. Whether it's resigning, appointing, dismissing, abandoning, investigating, this will go on. But it must be done quickly, because once people lose faith, it's difficult to restore it. And we can only do it by very strong actions. And I think the people in the board and outside are very well aware of it. And I'm hopeful that in the very near future, something will be done to clean not just this sport, but any sport, where betting and fixing and all sorts of allegations, some proven, some not proven.
do you think betting should be legalized? Are you of that view?
People have different opinion. I also sometimes think to myself, well, if you're putting money on a racehorse which is legal, why is, for example, in the UK, there is a betting commission, which is completely government controlled. The state earns a lot of revenue, and all the illegal betting systems now are not in existence because of the betting commission being there in the UK. So different countries have different cultures and different. We can have a longer debate and whatever is the consensus, but this fixing, I think, is a bigger problem. Betting is certainly a problem, but this fixing, I think, is a much larger problem, because there you're questioning the credibility, the integrity of the players.
Yeah, betting is okay, but fixing is cheating. It's a fraud.
It's not okay, because betting is illegal in this country.
Betting is illegal, but there is a difference here. Betting is still, you're betting not knowing the outcome. Here you already know the outcome, which is fixed. That's a larger crime.
Exactly. So I think people who have been alleged involved in such affairs must be investigated, and if there's enough evidence, I think we must take strong action.
Okay, let's move on to your ministry. That's also seen a lot of, fixing. This whole chit fund scam. Another scam there. Your company's bill, I know, still hanging, but is the company's bill strong enough? Is it a preemptive bill? Can it
you see, the last time we enacted a law for company affairs in this country was in 1956, and before that was 1919. So it's been good 60 odd years where we've not really had a relook at the law. We've amended the constitution 25 times, but time has come for us to really relook and have a paradigm shift in the ecosystem of how companies run, formulate and execute their work. This chit fund issue is very unfortunate, because the Chit Funds Act is an act enacted by Parliament but executed by the state governments. There is a registrar of chits in every state. So every chit fund company has to register itself with the state government. And I've always offered, I said, whatever needs to be done to curtail such Ponzi schemes, such chit fund activities that are causing the small investor harm, whether it's the RBI or the SEBI or my ministry, we are more than happy to support in any way. In fact, I wrote to all chief ministers in the month of February when we got wind of such activities taking place. But ultimately, to curb it, to mitigate such activities, it has to be the state law enforcement agencies who have to work very hard. Any input that's required from us, we are more than happy to do it. But the company's bill, once it hopefully gets passed in Rajya Sabha, that will then have enough teeth in preventive, because there's no point in running after these people who have swindled so much money.
Exactly, yeah.
Because once they run away, the money is also gone. And my concern is more about people who, for example, a retired school teacher is invested 30,000 rupees in some fund, hoping it will double in, 2, 3, 4 years. and this sort of lures people to invest more money. My worry is how do I get that money back for those people? So we are now in this new bill, there is provision of attaching properties, confiscating assets, freezing bank accounts, so that we can at least recover some of the lost money that these people have swindled.
So hopefully this bill will be passed in the next session?
Well, you can't take Parliament for granted. It was passed in Lok Sabha, and I'm hopeful with the support of all political parties, we'll be able to pass it in the Rajya Sabha in the coming session.
Moving on to, well, not next session, but the next coming elections. Where does the Congress stand? I mean, where do you hope to win or make a comeback? Except for Karnataka, I think all the big states you are on a losing wicket, whether it's Maharashtra, UP, Bihar, Rajasthan, your own state.
Well, you see now the last few state elections, there was elections in Uttarakhand, BJP was in government, today Congress is in government. Himachal Pradesh, BJP was in government, today Congress is in government. Karnataka, the only state where BJP had a presence, where they had a chief minister, today Congress has a chief minister. So recent elections, I think Congress has done pretty well, despite all the doomsday, predictions that some of you had made. And I believe in 2014, when you go to the polls, we have, I think, given to this country a stable government. People used to accuse the Congress of saying, well, it's too large a party, it can't run a coalition, and so on and so forth. So we've proven beyond doubt that we can run a good, stable coalition. And in a country, you need stability. And that, I think, Dr. Manmohan Singh and Mrs. Gandhi have been able to provide for UPA 1 and UPA 2. UPA 3, when the elections come, I think is a strong possibility. And I say this because look at the NDA today. I think they're much weaker today than they were in 2004 and 2009. Mr. Naveen Patnaik has left the NDA. Mr. Chautala has left the NDA. Mr. Nitish Kumar has, I don't know if he's left or he's leaving, but he's not very comfortable there. So except for Shiv Sena,
look at your own state, Mamata has left you, DMK has left you, you're also on a weak wicket.
But we have support from many parties. Many parties who are supporting us from the outside, and that's why we have a majority.
Are you seriously going to take Mulayam support for granted?
Well, the Samajwadi Party has given a letter to the President of India that they support the UPA.
But his support is issue by issue. He's going to blackmail you on every issue. Well, that's not a very stable situation.
It's quite all right for a leader of a party to put his views in Parliament and give suggestions to the government because he's supporting us. But I'm talking about the BJP. Except for Shiv Sena and Akali Dal, I don't really see a very strong ally of the NDA. And I don't think the BJP itself is in any position to take on the leadership role, because within BJP itself, even though Mr. Narendra Modi, the Chief Minister of Gujarat, is trying to do the self-appointment by becoming the front runner in the post for the PM candidate. But there are about 12 people there who think they're more deserving than him, and that is holding the BJP back in declaring who will be their PM candidate. And good luck to them. I don't know what the future holds, but I can tell you, in terms of having a pan-India presence, in terms of being a party with some credibility in southern India, in the east of India, the BJP does not come up to mark. And that's why I'm confident of UPA 3 coming back to power.
Okay, but what about, supposing you preempted my question, Modi as a PM candidate, at least, see the logic is they won't even get the Muslim vote anyway, so might as well at least unite the whole hardcore Hindutva vote.
It's not about Muslim Hindu votes. I think people narrow it down by, this whole religious and caste
and religion.
No, ultimately, see, the BJP itself is non-existent in Tamil Nadu, in Andhra Pradesh, in Kerala, in Bengal, hang on. So, if in these states the BJP doesn't exist, what can Mr. Modi do in those states? How many votes can Mr. Modi poll for the BJP in the state of Kerala? And how many people are ready to support the BJP as a party that can be in power? Very few. So, I don't think they have the vision, the wherewithal, the strength, the credibility that a national party requires to come to power. They can aspire all that they want, but we'll meet them head on in 2014.
Okay, what about, I talked about Modi, the other side of the coin, Rahul Gandhi. Is he going to be a prime ministerial candidate?
Well, he's certainly going to lead the party in 2014 polls. He's now the vice president of the party. He's bringing about massive changes in the organization. And I've said this before, he's not an individual, unlike Mr. Modi or some other people who have made it their life's agenda to attain a certain position. Mr. Gandhi is working to spread the party's ideology further and further, to make it strong where we are weak. And positions and power is something that is not the only focus for his politics.
So Manmohan Singh is not your prime ministerial candidate?
Well, Dr. Singh has served 9 years as prime minister.
He says he wants to serve more.
And he has another 1 year. And it's true. We don't know what the future holds. But certainly from the party's point of view, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi and Dr. Manmohan Singh are 3 people who have given us leadership in the party, in the government, and that will continue in 2014.
What is it like being young in the age of Rahul Gandhi? Is it an advantage? I know you don't like being called young anymore, But compared to the others who are young.
You tell me one person who doesn't like to be called young. I think everybody does all sorts of things to look young, and we are very blessed that we have been able to enter into public life at a very early age. It gives us more time and an experience to garner as we move along. And working with Mr. Gandhi, I think, is a fantastic experience, not just in Parliament, but also in the party. Because, you are able to communicate better and able to understand the issues, and there is no... and with him working, I think the best part is that one is able to freely and openly speak his or her mind, and he encourages you to do so. So when he himself is encouraging you to come up with counter views and challenge some of the preset notions, I think it's a good environment to work, and that's why he's able to energize so many young people across the country.
You hold an MBA from Wharton. You were not going to join politics, as we all know. How is that? Has that been able to help your politics, make you a different kind of politician?
Every education that a human being is lucky to get in any field, I think always helps you. Whether you study history, art, photography, journalism, or economics or business, it doesn't matter. And my father used to say this to me. He says, you must get education in any field that interests you. And for me, my master's in business administration has certainly helped me. In this ministry also and otherwise. You understand the global perspective, how the world is changing.
You mentioned your father. Most of us remember him very warmly. Is that very tough to live up to the legacy of Rajesh Pilot?
Well, I don't think I'm even trying to do that. I am an individual, and I don't think it's appropriate for me, anyone, to compare my father or me or any two people.
But the comparison is inevitable.
Inevitable, but he had to struggle so much to get very little in life, and I have been very, very fortunate, in fact lucky, that I have got so much so easily, perhaps undeservingly so, I can say very candidly. But I am trying to do the best I can given my circumstances. My generation before us, they had to struggle for everything. Today life has become a little bit easier. We have access to many more things. There are mobiles, there's internet, there's technology, there's comfort of life. My parents' generation didn't have all that, so they had more struggle to make. We have different expectations. We have social media, and we have electronic media. You have instant gratification people want. Expectations are higher. People have less patience than earlier. So there are different circumstances in which I am working than my father did. So I am at no point of time ever trying to compete or try and do what he did. But yes, the few basics of life that I've learned from him, I try to emulate that. I don't say I'm able to follow it because I'm nowhere close to what he was able to do in his life. And I'm trying to do whatever little I can. History will judge whether I was successful or not.
You're very reserved. Your college friends remember you as a very shy and reserved. Has that changed? Politics?
I don't think I'm reserved. I tend to speak as and when I get thoughts.
Much.
No, I don't think it's reserved, but yes, I also don't think it's important. It's right to keep talking all the time and keep forcing your views on people when they don't want it. If somebody wants to hear you and asks you for opinion, I'm more than happy to give it.
Okay, last two questions. One is about I believe you do have a pilot's license. Is that the pressure of your surname, or you genuinely want to?
When I was younger, maybe it was because when I was a teenager, my last name is a little uncommon, and my father was a fighter pilot in the Air Force, so it's okay for him to be called that. And when I was very young in school, I used to think about this, but I had interest in flying, so I got my license when I was quite young. I think I was about 17 or 18 when I got my flying license. So it's something I wanted to do out of interest.
Okay, last question. You married Sara Farooq Abdullah's daughter. This is a marriage that made headlines both in page 1 and page 3. Is life very difficult? Where do you find it more difficult, in page 1 or page 3?
The newspaper has 16 pages, so it's not just 1 and 3.
No, 1 and 3 are the important ones.
There's a whole other sets of pages one must read at. No, I think it didn't. Everyone has their own life path charted for them, and the Almighty decides what happens and where, and you do the best you can to make yourself happy and people around you happy.
Thanks a lot for talking to NewsX. You've been visiting from Rajasthan and Bihar, but thank you for taking the time out to talk to us.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.
The expulsion of Ram Jethmalani throws a very interesting light on the power play within the BJP. The real story here is not why he was expelled, but who caused the expulsion. As we all know, Jethmalani has two very powerful backers in LK Advani and Narendra Modi. Take a look at the story behind the headlines. The reason why Ram Jethmalani has been expelled for 6 years is that he had taken on the then party chief Nitin Gadkari. In November last year, when Gadkari was embroiled in the Purti corruption scam, Jethmalani was one of the first in the BJP to demand that Gadkari step down. Jethmalani was then handed a show cause notice. But it has taken the party 6 months to take the next logical step and expel him. Hence, the larger message here is not in the expulsion, but in the timing. It shows the return of Gadkari's clout.
He is not a member of the party for me to comment on him.
The decision to expel Jethmalani was taken by the BJP on the 27th May meeting of the party's parliamentary board. What is interesting here is that Modi did not attend this meeting, though he is a member of the parliamentary board. Since Jethmalani is not a powerful leader, the only person who has gained from his ouster is the one he had baited, former party president Nitin Gadkari. According to BJP sources, the move to sack Jethmalani was to appease Gadkari. Party sources also add that there is a move by the RSS to rehabilitate Gadkari, and the first step of this rehabilitation package would be at the party's national executive due next weekend. Suddenly, the beleaguered Gadkari has found support from most unexpected quarters. It seems that Advani now wants to project Gadkari to counter Modi. In fact, sources tell me that Advani has even suggested that Gadkari be given charge of the December state election campaign committees. All this while Modi is still waiting for his name to be announced as the head of the Lok Sabha election campaign committee. Last month, in an exclusive interview to NewsX, BJP chief Rajnath Singh had said that the decision as to who will head the campaign committee for the next Lok Sabha polls would be taken soon after the Karnataka elections. At that time, it was understood that Modi would be heading this committee and would thereby emerge as the party's prime ministerial face. Is Modi going to become the head of the campaign committee? What is the face?
अब इसके बारे में भी मैं नहीं कह सकता हूँ. कर्नाटका इलेक्शन समाप्त होने के बाद मैं जितने भी हमारे पार्लियामेंट्री बोर्ड के मेंबर्स हैं, दूसरे सीनियर लीडर्स हैं, उनसे मैं कंसल्ट करूंगा. सबसे बातचीत करने के बाद तब मैं फाइनल डिसीजन करूंगा.
You have not had any discussion with him on this?
डिस्कशन हुआ है. लेकिन who should be projected as a prime ministerial candidate? इसके बारे में कोई डिस्कशन नहीं हुआ है.
But now sources are telling us that no such big ticket announcement will be made at the party's executive in Goa on 8th and 9th June. Instead, the assembly election tour campaign of various leaders, including Gadkari and Modi, would be chalked out at the Goa meet. Another young and dynamic minister, Jyotiraditya Scindia, captured the headlines when he was the first BCCI board member to ask for N. Srinivasan's resignation. But what few people know is that Scindia just doesn't do politics or cricket. He is actually a very keen cricket player himself. For sports, you're a keen cricketer. What position do you like playing best?
Well, I like opening, and that's what I try and do in all walks of life.
That is all for this week. Thank you for watching Cover Story and see you again same time next week.